What is up, you fellow Godless Ones? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to start a response to Barak Lurie and a book he wrote not too long ago called Atheism Kills. And in particular, a lecture he gave about it that I found interesting and very disturbing.
So today we're here talking about, I hope you all can see me and I will try to project, Atheism Kills. It's an absolutely, it's a terrific book.
Already, I just have to say, if your book is titled Atheism Kills, just that alone it's a straw man. It's a straw man. It's atrocious. It's misrepresenting the truth of the matter. So I don't see how you can call that a good book by any stretch of the imagination. It's a book designed as propaganda with a title like that, designed to hit a certain audience to make them hate a certain demographic. And that's the design of it. That's what you want to do.
I wanted to start with your journey writing the book, From Atheist to Devoutly Religious. I heard you talking to Dennis Prager about this, and it's quite something. As an atheist, you had set out to prove in your senior thesis that you were right. Anybody who foolishly believed in anything was wrong, and yet a funny thing happened.
You know, I really love how so many Christians are coming out and saying that they were former atheists. And I'm not going to sit here and say or pretend to know whether or not Barak Lurie was indeed a former atheist. I would say, if you wrote this thesis and that might be evidence that you were an atheist at the time, then release that. I'll read that thesis and I'll see if it comes from any kind of a non-belief point of view. But I think that it's so often that these people claim to be atheists and then represent atheism so atrociously. If you were a former atheism in your book called Atheism Kills, I would hope that you would actually represent it, truthfully. Because if you were a former atheist, were you going around killing people? Because if you weren't, how can you say that atheism kills?
And the distinctions of how we forget what our main mission is, right? We forget why we are where we are today. Why are we on this planet, right? I mean, it's the ultimate question, I suppose, but we should all be asking that. Is it for the purpose of getting a lot more money, a lot more toys, all the sex that you can want?
I think that, humans have been asking why we're on this planet since humans have been a thing. And I'm sure that some human beings think it's sex and money. I think each human being has their own perspective. And I don't think being an atheist or a Christian actually entails about what that perspective is, so to speak. I think every Christian is different from every other Christian. I think every atheist is probably different from every other atheist. I think we're our own individual universes. I perceive this universe in my own individual way. And if you think about it on those terms, there's literally 8 billion universes walking around on this planet with our own perceptions, with our own ideas of what humanity is even. And when you're gonna talk about these things or think about these things, then that should be taken into consideration.
We have to remember our mission. That, dovetailing to your question now, really started making me think a little bit more as I was writing my thesis. My thesis at Stanford was a very narrow topic, mind you. I mean, very, very narrow. Does religion cause more deaths and evil than the absence of religion? Right? Narrow topic. Narrow.
Again, if you were an atheist and you were bringing your thesis on such a narrow topic, well, I think that would be very easy to answer, because for most of the historic world, not counting prehistory, societies have been primarily dominated by religions. There hasn't been too many societies out there dominated by atheism. Now, most people, and I'm going to imagine Barak Lurie as we get through this series I'm doing here, is going to probably equate communism to atheism. And once we get there, we'll deal with that. But I will maintain here and now that there has never been a atheist society that has ever existed, at least within the historic era, upon this planet.
So I set out about to prove that because I had heard that mantra and I'm sure it was right. And then as I went along, I realized, doing a lot of research, that I was just wildly off. I was so wrong. And then in the meantime, I had been dealing with a lot of Christian friends on campus. I was not one of these guys, these atheists that would mock Christians, but I just wanted to understand why they thought so foolishly.
See, right there, it's comments like that that makes me call bullshit on your quote-unquote former atheism. Now, I am an atheist that will sometimes mock Christians, oftentimes mock Christians, and I will oftentimes be ridiculed by other atheists for doing so. You know, most atheists don't go around mocking Christians. You yourself admitted that you were an atheist that didn't go around mocking Christians. So you should understand from that perspective that this isn't some culture within atheism to just go around and mock Christians. But you're presenting it that way because your Christian audience will understand it that way. So I call bullshit on your atheism. You're strawmanning atheism. You're doing what Christians do. You're trying to claim some knowledge that you just don't have so you can claim an internal critique that you just don't have.
How can they think this way? But they were so engaging. They were always very polite. And they always said, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I didn't like that, right? It just put little seeds in my head. And next thing I know, I'm beginning to think like them. So the question of free will came up. And I started reading Dostoevsky, and I realized you can't have free will without God. It's just not possible.
Again, another example of why I would think that Barak Lurie was never an atheist in his life. You know, I yearn for Christians to pose questions to me about the way that I think. You know, Christians asking questions of why I think the way that I do doesn't scare me. It doesn't make me, not like it. I love it. And it certainly doesn't make me think like them. So Barak Lurie, in all of his successes in life, right here at the beginning of this, is admitting to having a very weak mind. A mind that is susceptible to the input of others without considerable thought. And even though he said he thought like that, he gave it away when he said he began to think like them. But this is just the beginning of my look at this conversation, at this lecture, whatever it is, about this book, Atheism Kills, which, when I can get around to it, I'm eventually going to read it. But I have a lot of philosophy I'm reading at the moment. So I do expect that this channel is going to start picking up as I really start investing some time into making some serious videos about some serious topics, because no, my friend, atheism doesn't kill. And I look forward to this conversation. And as always, I have to send a big thank you to my patrons. My patrons have been there for me on the internet for the last several years, and they've done it quietly. They haven't expected anything on Patreon from me. They just want to support my endeavors here on this platform. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am. So to each and every single one of you, thank you. And I promise I will never quit on you